Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, please visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you in advance for your support, and remember, you make your money when you buy, and you get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth. All right, guys, welcome back.
Discount Property Investor Podcast. This
right.
is your host, Mike Slane, and co-host over there.
Hey, guys, David Dodge.
All right. Today, we are going to talk about real estate investing. One of our favorite things, favorite way for people to get started is by wholesaling real estate. Dave, you want to briefly summarize what wholesaling is for everybody?
Absolutely. Wholesaling is buying a property primarily off market, but not always, at a great price and selling that agreement or house to purchase at a good price and making a spread in the middle.
Perfect.
Simple. Very simple.
It is a very simple business, but it's not always easy. And we put together a great course that goes
to help make it easier.
Great course called freewholesalecourse.com. You can visit it online, check it out, give us a little bit of feedback. We've had thousands of people take the course. Most of them have told us
4,000 to date.
Most of them have told us it's pretty good. You know, there haven't been very many negative ones.
Almost 155-star reviews.
That's pretty good.
Not to boast.
Pretty good.
But yeah, we're doing pretty good, guys. We're helping a lot of people out there learn how to get started investing into real estate, primarily via wholesale. Why? Because once you get a good deal, you have options. You can rehab it. You can keep it as a rental. You can wholesale it. You can do a lot of things. But it all starts with finding the deal. So that's what we like to touch on. Today's episode of the Discount Property Investor Podcast is going to be the rental rehab strategy. So we're doing a little mini series on the BRRRR strategy. As of today, Mike and I own over 40 rental properties, or we'll have 40 being online soon, but we own them. And we're using a strategy called BRRRR. What is it? It's buy, renovate, rent out, refinance, and repeat. So if you want to check out the previous couple episodes, we talked a lot about buying. Mm-hmm. This particular episode is going to actually be like a 3-part, but it's about rehabbing. And today we're going to talk about the rental rehab strategy. So, you know, what exactly are we doing with this particular rehab? Why? How? All the above. And we're going to give you guys a bunch of pro tips if you want to start using the BRRRR strategy, or if you're just rehabbing your rentals as well. Lots of great information we're going to give out in this episode.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
This is one of my favorite things. This is what I do day in, day out. So Dave does a lot more.
And Mike, you're really good at this too.
Of the wholesale. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Dave does a lot more of the wholesale day-to-day stuff, and I do a lot more of this rental rehab stuff day to day.
Right.
So again, we just kind of divide and conquer. And again, I
love it. Divide and conquer. And again, another lesson we can kind of take away from this is by dividing and conquer and creating a team, we can do more together.
Absolutely.
If we were trying to each do this on our own, of course we could do it, but it would be slow.
Yeah.
And by working together, so build a team if you don't already have one, even if that's just one other person. Teams get things done.
Absolutely. And again, with that comes all the conflict of working with other people. I mean, sometimes me and Dave get on each other's nerves.
It happens. Right.
Yeah. Sometimes
but at the end of the day, having a team, it's awesome.
I wouldn't go back.
I wouldn't either, man. Having a team is the way to go. So today we're talking about the rental rehab strategy. We're going to give you guys some pro tips along the way. So
let's walk around a house together.
Let's do it.
That's what we should do.
So that's where it all starts. You go out, you find a property. And we talked a little bit in previous episodes about knowing your numbers as well as knowing your area. So let's just assume that we find our next rental 41. Boom. Mm-hmm. We find it. It came in from one of our off-market marketing. So we went direct to the seller. We went out. We got a great deal on it. Most of the time when we buy rentals, they're good deals on properties from the get-go, and we can easily wholesale them. Or we could maybe even rehab these to sell them. But we decide, hey, we want to build a portfolio of rentals to provide passive income. so we can really truly have freedom. That's why we got into this business in the first place, is to have freedom. And that's what we're doing. We're building our freedom door.
Absolutely.
It's
and
great.
Like Dave said, we're around 40 right now. We're going to be at 150 in hopefully the next
24 months. We're going to put it out there.
Under 24
Under
months.
24
maybe.
months.
Under 24
At a max, right?
yeah.
So we found a house that we want as a rental. What do we do next? We're going to walk the property, and we're going to figure out all the things that we need to do to this property in order to A, make it look nice and welcoming, B, be safe for the potential tenant, C, be welcoming to that tenant, and probably most importantly, last but not least, pass an occupancy inspection so we can do it legally.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you mention the get the refinance?
That's later.
Well, what I mean is you're rehabbing it. You want to make sure it appraises high enough.
Correct. You want to put together a plan for that rehab that is going to be, it's going to be in conjunction with your entire plan, which is
Perfect.
I need to have my appraisal be at least this number in order to get an 80% loan or a 75% loan or a 70% loan to be all in at, to where I can get all my money back. So the whole reason that we use the BRRRR strategy is to take a small amount of money to buy a property, rehab it, get it rented, refinance all of that money back to pay back our private investors or ourselves to basically get a rental property, which is an asset, by the way, for free. We're getting all of our money back, but yet we are now controlling the asset. So yes, Mike, I love that you brought that up. You want to know your numbers, and this is all part of the process. Know your numbers. What is the rehab that I need to do to get to this final number? Love it. Mm-hmm. So we bought this house. It makes sense. We know our numbers, so we got it at a great price. We know we need to spend at least $15,000 on the rehab in order to get the entrepreneurial credit, which we talked about in previous episodes, to be able to even get to the refinance table properly. So what are we going to do, Mike? We're going to walk around and we're going to start taking notes on what? What are we doing?
Let's do it. Okay, so first off, here's like kind of a tip. What I would say is I'm an Apple guy, and I love the Notes app for this. So the Notes app is great. You just open it up, and you can hit that little microphone button, and I'm sure the the Android users have a very similar thing.
Yeah, or
sure
Evernote is very similar. You got to pay for that, but yeah, very similar.
So again, love it. We've almost all got smartphones in our pockets. That's probably how you're listening to us right now on the podcast.
I would bet.
Is 99% chance you've got a smartphone. So go ahead and get the Notes app open. And I like to, again, start with the address, and then I walk around the property and take my notes. That way,
it's not that hard. You just take notes on your phone.
Super easy, super fast, saves you from having all that paper, helps you stay organized. I think organization is one of the most important things in kind of the project management.
Absolutely.
sphere.
Very, very, very important.
So take that Notes app out and walk around the house with us virtually. So right now, we're going to say...
So let's do it. Let's do a virtual walk around. So we're going to start doing the exterior.
Yeah, we're walking around the outside of the house. 9 times out of 10, you've got a lot of old plants and bushes and weeds that are overgrown on fence lines, all that stuff. So the easiest thing to do is you get a laborer or you do it yourself, and you trim back a bunch of the landscaping.
Or remove it even.
Just remove it.
Clean it up.
Exactly. Looks super clean, not very expensive.
Now, we're not saying you need to go and you need to buy 50 plants and redo everything. This is a rental. You want to clean it up or remove it. If you have to put down some mulch, that's fine. Mulch is cheap. But the idea here is to spend the least amount of money to make it look the best. So what's the highest and best use of what I already have here? How do I make it the best?
That's very important. So your goal is not to make these beautiful houses.
Not at all.
Your goal is to make
you want to make them appealing.
Nice houses.
Right, nice, as Mike said. But you don't need to spend any extra money on the outside that isn't necessary. So certain things will be necessary, of course. But if it's not needed, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Look at it that way.
Perfect.
So you're going to do an exterior walk around. Mike mentioned landscaping. That's always the first thing. Next, I typically look at roof, fascia, soffit, gutters. Why? Because the inspector will flag those items. Okay? If it's got a hole in the roof, probably need to fix that. They're not going to give you an occupancy permit. If your gutters are hanging off the house, well, A, the inspector's going to flag it, but B, it's gonna probably lead to a flooded basement.
Yeah, this is important, guys.
So you want to make sure that your water negation is in place too. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not just the gutters too that can be falling off, but also look for gutters that are clogged or stuff's growing out of. You want to clean out the gutters. I mean, again, so It's clean up the landscaping, clean out the gutters, make sure they're attached, make sure your downspouts are connected, and you've got water diverted away from the foundation of the property. Here in St. Louis, we've got basements, so it's very important that we keep the water out of those basements. If you have a slab, it's going to be a similar thing. You don't want water underneath it,
make it cause it to crack,
or getting into the house.
Right.
Again, you're going to have wet flooring. You're going to be ruined, destroy the property. So those are very, very important things.
I walked through a flooded slab a couple weeks ago, man.
Gross.
It was nasty.
Yeah. They're not. It's not fun.
Right.
So that's the first thing. So walk around the outside, determine what needs to be done, and most of those things that we just described. I mean, this is under $1,000 if you pay somebody. 9 times out of 10 to do all that work.
Stuff.
I would say
absolutely
$400 or $500.
Yeah,
and that's
don't overthink it.
That's including throwing some mulch down and some plants the week before you've got your open house for rentals, so it looks really nice.
Yep.
Some place that somebody wants to move into. So we've walked around the outside of the house. Let's say there is a no garage. There's a fence and it's looking a little rusty. Here's a cheap way to fix that: spray paint,
or just take it out.
If you've got a chain link fence. Now, personally, I like to keep them if they're there, because pets, people love their pets.
People love them, right.
So again, you can get a little bit more pet rent if there's a fence there. But again, if it's kind of gone rusty, I like to spray paint them, at least the front section of the fence. Maybe not the entire fence, but just that way from the street, you're looking at a fence.
Again, it makes it welcoming, guys, not only for the tenant, but the inspector. You don't want them to flag it and have them rip the whole thing out and redo it.
And the neighbors.
It's going to be costly to do that.
If you've got neighbors.
And the neighbors. You want to keep the neighbors happy.
Homeowners, they don't like to look at junky rental properties. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to live near that. So again, you want to make it look nice. So again, cleaning up everything on the outside. So now we're walking into the house. So we step into the house and we've got a, let's call it a 3-bed, 1-bath house. We walk into the family room, dining room area. It's split off and there's carpeting, and there's an old bronze light fixture. So this is an easy one. We're going to rip out the carpeting and we're going to replace the light fixture. So I got my notes app out. I'm going to say family room, remove carpeting, replace light fixture.
9 times out of 10, I would say more than that. 95 times out of 100, we're painting a house and we are doing something to the flooring. So when I walk in, the first thing I notice always is the floors and the walls, okay? Typically, we're going to be painting the walls, and we're going to either be sanding down floors, refinishing floors, adding flooring, or redoing carpet. So those typically are always going to happen. Now, the cost of painting and the cost of doing floors can add up, obviously, due to the size of the home. The square footage matters. But in all reality, those costs are pretty low in terms of the entire budget.
Yeah, so let's talk about flooring a little bit. So I just said we're going to replace that flooring, right? I didn't say I'm going to replace that carpet. I'm going to replace that flooring. If there's hardwood under it, we can get hardwood resanded and refinished for approximately $2, $2.50 a square foot here in St. Louis. We can also get the luxury vinyl tile, or the luxury vinyl planks, which is, again, it's just vinyl flooring that clicks together. It's kind of like that old Pergo.
Some peel and stick, some click. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we like to click together, and you want a little bit more rubbery one, not a harder one. The harder ones tend to break. They're a little harder to install. So I like the rubber-backed ones. It's easier to install. This vinyl you cut with a knife.
And it's tenant-proof. We talked about this last episode,
This is exactly
guys.
what I was pointing out.
This is tenant-proof. So if somebody drops a glass of wine on the ground or they drag a refrigerator across it, it's way more likely to not scratch or stain because of the fact that it's not wood, it's rubber, essentially. It's vinyl.
Yeah, I mean, they can still tear it up, but most of these products are guaranteed in residential for 10 years. I think that's the lowest guarantee I've seen on them. We are pretty young into using this product, but I know it's been around. I think it was Allure was one of the first ones to hit the market several years ago. But we've been using this in all our rentals. And like Dave said, it's to tenant-proof the property. You want hard surfaces. You want hard floors, because that carpet, it gets gross. Carpet, if you get cheap carpet, even expensive carpet's probably only going to last 1 to 2 tenants. I mean, people who rent properties oftentimes live a little bit harder than an owner. They
right.
Don't take
and they care a little less about it because it's not theirs, which is okay. And you have to just go into it knowing that.
Yeah,
that's okay.
It's just the way of the world.
The way of the world.
People tend to treat their own possessions better.
Right.
So again, you want to make it tenant proof, and that's the hard surfaces for the flooring is very, very important. We'll talk about some other stuff.
Right. So you got your walls, you got your floors. Next, Mike, you had mentioned light fixtures. So just in general, we're looking big picture here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my walls, then I'm going to look at my floors, then I'm going to notice my light fixtures. Light fixtures are relatively inexpensive, and they will make a house look a lot more new and updated by swapping them out. Old light fixtures are hard to clean. They get dirty, they're hard to clean, and oftentimes cleaning them leads to frustration and or breaking them, at least with me. I don't like cleaning light fixtures. I like to just take them out and put new ones in.
I love it.
Again, it makes the home welcoming. And the cost to put in a light fixture versus lots of other things in the whole rehabbing aspect or world is minimal. So walls, floors, light fixtures. Next, we're going to get into a little bit more granular when it comes to the kitchens and the baths. But the bedrooms, the family rooms, all of the hallways, you're basically looking at floors, walls, and light fixtures, guys. That's it.
It's very
very simple when it comes to that. One thing we didn't talk about was windows. We talked a lot about the roof, the fascia, the gutter, the landscaping. So the windows typically is done on the outside, in my opinion, before you go in. But if the home has older windows, you should replace those.
Well, again, so let's
Maybe.
let's
It
talk
depends,
about that.
though. Yeah, it depends on your budget, but it also depends on what else is there. We talked a little bit last episode about knowing the area. And if that area doesn't have all new windows in all of the homes, then it won't matter for the appraisal so much.
So windows.
But if you're the only house in the street with old windows, that will matter. So again, know your area, know your numbers.
Yeah, and there's a couple things to consider with windows as well. So one of them is, in St. Louis, we have the occupancy inspection. So we've talked about this. A lot of areas now, they require a safety inspection. Make sure that the house is safe to live in. And one of those things is the windows. If the window cannot be opened, like it's been painted shut, that's a big problem.
Or screwed
in the
shut.
bedroom. Or if it opens and then falls shut, that's a safety issue as well, because what if there's a fire that people can't get out? So windows can be something that needs to be replaced. But again, if they're functional, often
they look okay.
And they look okay. Oftentimes I would leave them.
Right.
It's kind of a gray area though too, because so a lot of times to paint a window, it costs more than you'd expect. So I had an older house with painted windows that were kind of a dark wood color, and we were going to save some money and paint the windows. Well, the amount of time it takes for somebody to put 2 coats of paint around all the windows, you've got different panes in the center of the older windows. It's all wood.
The detail work is a freaking nightmare.
So again, if you're paying somebody hourly or whatever to paint that window, it can be a nightmare.
You might be better off to just replace it, and it'd be cheaper, and you're gonna have a new window.
Right. So you're gonna want to find a good window company. You're gonna call around. A lot of the ones that advertise probably aren't going to be the lowest priced for you.
Because they're paying for the advertising, right?
So you're going to want to, again, find a good window company that can help you out on that.
Right. But that's it. We don't need to dive too deep on windows. Just know that in certain scenarios, it's not worth replacing them. In other scenarios, it is. So know your numbers, know your neighborhood, and know your ARV, because that's kind of where you need to determine that, and or for safety. You covered it. Love it. So we got walls, floors, light fixtures, windows. Next, we have bed and bath. We have bath and kitchen.
Bath and kitchen. So bath and kitchen, this is where you're going to probably spend a little bit more money, but you can definitely overspend. So you want to be very cognizant of this property. So we're walking through this one. And let's kind of think back to the property we had mentioned before, where we walk in, and the cabinets are in pretty good shape, but they're old. They've got a really dark stain on it, and they've got like that brass hardware. Well, what are we going to do to this house? And then the cabinets the countertops are all dinged up. It's all Formica and it's all dinged up. What am I going to do to this house? I'm going to pull the countertops off, and I'm going to make my note in my notes app. I'm going to say replace countertops, paint the cabinets, new hardware. Appliances, depending on the condition. So this is, again, if you've got really, really old beat up appliances, maybe you have to replace some of them. Maybe you can save some of them. Maybe the fridge is black. Well, then guess what? I'm going to go in and I'm going to replace just the oven that needs to be replaced.
Mike, one thing we didn't really mention yet, and I think it's a great time to talk about this for a second. We talked about doing your rehab, knowing your numbers, of course, but putting together a rehab plan that aligns with your ARV or your appraisal.
Love it.
But one thing we didn't mention is doing your rehab plan also to be cognizant and thinking of the amount of rent you can collect from the work you're doing. So appliances is a great point. If you leave your old appliances in there, you may not be able to collect top of the market rent for the property. You may have to be a little less. However, if you put in some nice stainless steel appliances, you may be able to collect another $100 or $150 a month. So again, having your rehab plan, you need to be aware and be thinking of two things with that plan. One is, what's the ultimate goal with this rehab? To get my property to value at a certain number. But B, these updates that I'm doing are making a difference on the welcomingness factor and the demand for that property as well.
Love it. Yeah. So and one thing that I'll say in ours, we almost never use white appliances because we're probably
They just get dirty.
Well, they get dirty. You also, if we're gonna paint, like on our lower end rentals, if we're gonna paint the cabinets, try to save some money there, you're probably painting them white. So if we've got white cabinets, black appliances just kind of pop a little bit.
Right.
So we use black appliances, and we actually use a black Formica countertop. It just looks pretty sharp with stainless handles on it.
Right.
Or brushed nickel, rather. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do in almost all of them, and that would be a great example in this house. We're going to paint the older cabinets white. We're going to replace black appliances in there, and we're going to put the brushed nickel.
Yeah, change the hardware. So paint the cabinets, change the hardware, get some appliances that are nice and they pop. And again, think of it this way, guys. If you have a stove that is just a piece of crap versus a nice new stove, any mom or anyone that's interested in, doing a lot of cooking at home, they're going to want that unit. They're going to want that house way more than the one that doesn't have those nice things. So
and guess what?
Definitely important. Dishwashers and microwaves.
Guess what? New appliances, less likely to break than the old one.
Less maintenance too, guys.
You're not going to get a call, hey, this burner doesn't work anymore on my stove. Can you get somebody to come out and fix it?
Right.
Well, guess what? I don't want to waste $200 sending a repairman out to fix a burner on a 10-year-old electric stove.
Let's talk a little bit about dishwashers and microwaves. So, both of these things aren't required in order to get an occupancy permit. However, by providing a dishwasher and a microwave, it's going to, again, increase the value of that kitchen. It's going to make somebody be more likely to want to rent that and or be willing to pay more. So we typically try to add those two. However, in some scenarios, it doesn't make sense to do so, and we will leave those out.
Right.
Another thing that we like to leave out,
this is a big one,
if possible, is garbage disposals.
I'd say leave out and take out.
Leave out and or take out. Remove if you buy a house and it has it already. Why? Why do we want to remove a garbage disposal?
The garbage disposals are my least favorite appliance in rentals. People clog them up constantly. So this is something
they're hard to clean. They're dangerous to clean if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, they frequently get jammed and they break.
And it's a great reason for the tenant to call the property manager or you to increase your maintenance. So just remove it completely and just tell them, hey, don't flush anything down or don't put any food down the sink, throw it out. And it's going to save you a lot of time and money in terms of maintenance down the road. Can the sink still clog? Of course. But all you got to do is snake it or take the bottom P-trap out and it's fixed. With the garbage disposal, you could troubleshoot for hours. And it's not worth it.
And it's a couple $100 appliance that needs to be replaced when it gets broken.
Yeah, so we remove those, all right? So dishwashers, microwaves, things to consider. Garbage disposal, again, something to consider, okay?
So let's talk about...
That's more on the kitchen side.
Let's talk about the total cost of this kitchen that we just walked through. We did, and one thing we didn't talk about, and we'll segue into the bathroom. The flooring in the kitchen, most likely, I'm going to try to slide that same, if it's the same height, I'm going to try to slide that vinyl in. If not, if it's kind of a different height thing, I might use a vinyl peel and stick that you can put grout in the middle of, which is what we use in a lot of our bathrooms. So it looks like tile. Looks like a tile floor because you can use the grout in it, but it's a vinyl that peels and sticks, so it's a little bit cheaper for install.
Yeah, groutable peel and stick tile is a godsend for rental properties.
Very cool. So let's talk about
looks nice. It's durable.
Let's talk about a total budget in the kitchen. We didn't buy new cabinets. We saved most of the cabinets, but we did paint them. So let's say $500 for someone else to paint the cabinets for us. We replaced the countertops with a black solid Formica. Let's say that's $500. Plus sink, we reused the sink. It was in good shape. Mm-hmm. New faucet, about $100. Appliances were our big one here because we decided, hey, the black fridge was in good shape. Let's get a new gas stove. Let's put a microwave above it, and let's put in a dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
So appliances we spent, let's say, $2,000 on, and that's probably a little high. We probably spend a little bit less.
Yeah.
So all in, we're probably, and then
Plus
the flooring,
labor.
plus the flooring, plus labor, light fixture. We're probably $4,000 or so, maybe $5,000 on this
Yeah,
kitchen.
4 to 6 is usually kind of where we're at. But that includes the light fixtures in there. That includes the flooring. That includes new countertops if needed. In this scenario, we didn't do cabinets, but sometimes we will. So therefore, it could be 6,000 instead of 4
Or 10.
or 10.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be. But we try to keep the kitchen around 4 to 6 grand. Again, sometimes it'll be less, sometimes it'll be more, but we kind of covered it all. We talked about the flooring, talked about the cabinets, talked about the countertops, the plumbing fixtures, which would be the sink and the faucet, the electrical fixtures, which would be the lighting in the kitchen, and then the appliances. That's basically everything in a kitchen.
Yeah, and this rental, again, I'm talking like a 3-1. I'm talking probably in St. Louis market under $100,000. This
Sure.
is kind of the rehab I'm
Yeah,
gonna
if
do.
it's a bigger rental, you're going to spend more.
If this is a 110 to 150 kind of price range, we're probably going to replace the cabinets, and we're probably going to try to get all stainless appliances in there. Because again, it's a little bit higher priced property.
Why though? Because
get a
we
little
know our numbers, and
We're
we
gonna
know
get-
that we're going to need to do nicer things for 2 reasons. 1, to be able to get it to appraise out where we want, but 2, to be able to hit a price point in terms of rent. You got to have it be equal to what the market is supporting.
Love it.
If other houses in the area are renting for X, well, why? Are they nice? Are they not nice? That explains it right there. It's all about supply and demand.
Cool. Now let's
So
walk
let's
over to the
segue
bathroom.
into the bathroom.
All right, so we segued a little bit with that vinyl peel and stick tile, and this is really good for bathrooms because it's a small space, so I'm not as worried about it getting beat up as much. Like the kitchen, you're just people constantly walking around on it a lot. The bathroom, again, there's not a lot of foot traffic like there is in the kitchen, so this vinyl peel and stick is really, really cool in there. And honestly, we've used it for a long time and haven't had any issues with it being, a not quality product. We get it, I think, from Home Depot for the most part. And yeah, it's been a real good one for us. So the bathroom, this is our sub 100,000. The tub is in decent shape. It's kind of a little bit chipped up. The tile on the wall around the tub is in decent shape. But it's just that really old color. There's those old greens and pink tiles that used to be popular, I guess, back in the
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of
60s,
that.
50s, 70s. I don't know when. It seems like forever. So you got a really ugly green tile on the walls. You've got an older vanity and toilet, which is okay. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend $1,000 in the bathroom, and it's going to look like $10,000. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace the toilet with the higher height and the elongated bowl. Again, it's a little bit more modern. People you don't realize it, but there's the round toilets and the elongated bowl.
Yep.
That one's a little bit nicer.
Yeah, the round ones are real ancient, in my opinion.
They
The
are.
elongated bowls are newer. They're nicer. People like them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very handy for us, big American butts, we like
So
a
we
nice big
typically
bowl.
replace the toilet and the vanity.
And the vanity
Because it's pretty cost effective, guys. Vanities are anywhere from $250 to $500. Toilets are probably less than $200.
Well, and again, for rental grade, I'm probably going to spend $200 tops on the vanity, and I want a sink.
Right.
I'm sorry, I want the vanity and the sink combo. For
yep.
about $200, $250. Usually, you can find those.
Yep.
At the big box stores.
Mm-hmm.
The toilet again, $100, $150 usually tops for a lower end rental. Then I'm going to have one of our guys come and glaze the tub.
What does
and
that
the
mean,
tile
Mike,
surround.
to glaze?
So the glaze, it's not painting. It's similar to paint, but it's just a higher quality. It's made for these surfaces, for the fiberglass.
It's made for hard to stick surfaces.
Exactly,
right.
and hopefully it holds up better in the wet environment, which is the bath.
It does hold up better. It's thicker than paint, and it's designed to keep moisture on one side of it.
Yeah, so you need a professional to do that. I've paid anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
$1,500, yeah, $1,200 maybe.
To have somebody do that.
Right.
Now I'm not going to use bath fitters. That's a totally different process where they come in and suction a tub surround over your tub.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to recommend glazing on this
Yeah,
property value.
you don't necessarily need to replace the tub. A lot of these older homes that we buy that are rentals, they may have the old
cast
iron tubs. And if you've ever tried to remove one of those, you have to take a sledgehammer and break it into pieces.
They are heavy.
They're heavy. And if you do that, you're typically going to be screwing up flooring. You're typically going to have drywall work, mudding, lots of painting. It's a pain in the ass. So we just leave them. And if they're rusted out or they have 4 different colors on them, glaze them. And then they look brand new. It's iron. It's sturdy. It's not going anywhere. The guys that we hire to come in, they sand them down, they glaze them, they look brand new. And your cost of doing so is, as Mike said, between $500, maybe $1,200. But the cost of replacing that tub is going to be twice that.
Oh,
with
easily.
all the extra things that you're adding to the list by ripping it out.
And you're
going to need a plumbing permit.
And one of the things we talk about in our meetings frequently is the time too.
Time.
So it's going to cost more, but it's also going to take longer.
Right.
So again, you're talking about, and why does it take longer? Well, one, the labor, but two, the drywall. So I mean, you've got drywall set up. You have to then put the mud on it and let it cure, and then sand it, and then do another coat and sand it, and then put tile on top of it.
It's not going to happen in one application.
It takes several days just to get it back into the right shape.
Right.
So skip that if you can, if it's not destroyed. So bathroom, let's talk about what we spent in the bathroom. We spent, let's call it $1,000 to glaze the whole tub and surround.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it $250 for a vanity. Let's call it $150 for a toilet, and $350 for the light and the flooring.
Under $2,000.
All in, yeah, we're right around, what was that? Yeah, about
$1,800, right.
So say $2,000 for your bathroom, and it looks like a brand new bathroom. Huge.
It's awesome, guys.
Huge. So again, $2,000 for a bathroom, $6,000 for our kitchen. Everything else, the materials, probably another $5,000 to $6,000 for flooring throughout the entire house. You're going to be right around $15,000 all in for everything we're doing.
So we shoot to spend at least $15,000 on our rehabs, and again, we do this because we need to get the entrepreneurial credit that the bank offers in order to make the refinance process work for us. So we're looking at the big picture the entire time. Some of our rehabs are $20,000, $25,000, but we always shoot to spend at least $15,000. Basements.
I want to talk about basements here in St. Louis. Basements, everybody, oh, they're gross, right? Like basements, you just get this dingy, nasty feeling in a lot of older homes. Like, oh, it's gross, there's spider webs, all that stuff. Fix that problem.
Make them welcoming,
Your
guys.
basement does not have to be gross. It's super easy. Get down there, knock all the
We
cobwebs.
paint everything.
Paint is your best friend as a rental
basement.
rehab. Literally, and again, this also, if you did something that might have required a permit and you forgot to get it pulled. So say, for instance, you had a new electrical line put in by your handyman and he didn't get a permit. Well, if you go down in the basement and you've painted the ceilings, this is a big one, paint the ceilings all black, just kind of looks nice and new. Paint the walls all white, paint the floor gray. You've got a nice area in
Now,
there.
yeah, I mean, essentially you can turn a basement that you don't want to walk down into a nice place by, as Mike said, you clean it up. You get all the cobwebs out, paint the ceiling, paint the walls, paint the floor, and then all of a sudden it's no longer dirty and dusty down there too because the paint encapsulates everything and it kind of keeps it.
Yeah, it looks nice.
It
smells
looks nice, smells nice, all the above. We don't go in and redo basements in terms of putting up walls and drywall and all that stuff. In the event that it has paneling or it has walls, of course we might leave those and paint them, but we're typically not doing any construction in the basement. If anything, it's demo and removal.
Exactly.
Clean
Very,
it up.
Very well said.
Right.
So again, if you're in a basement and some of the paneling's knocked out and has a little water damage from years of whatever,
Right.
Just rip it out. It's cheap.
Rip it out.
It's just like the landscaping
Yeah,
outside.
and we have tenants who will, they'll do crazy things like partition a part of a basement up to put a bedroom in there. You know what? We don't care. All right, we just want to provide them the canvas so they can do something with it. And oftentimes that might just be a place to store their junk, which is fine.
It's a nice, clean,
It's
dry
clean
space.
though, right?
Yeah, very important.
And the amount of money that we spend to make a basement clean, assuming that we're not doing a ton of demo, if we're just cleaning out stuff, painting it, what's that, Mike? Maybe $1,500 to $2,000.
$2,000 tops.
$2,000. So again, but this is something that's also going to do two things, guys. Two things: A, help you get a higher rent. You're making it more welcoming. And B, your appraiser is like, whoa, yes, it's not livable square footage necessarily, but it's clean down there. So they're going to look at that with other comps and they're going to give you a higher value for that property.
Yeah, it's nice. It looks nice. That's what's important, is that it looks and feels nice. It's not a place like, ooh, I want to get out of here.
Hit the road a second.
You want to keep it all the same.
Keep it the same.
So real quick, here's something that's very important, and I wanted to touch on it earlier, but I was holding back, is scaling up. So this is something we talked about with our previous episode, talking about hiring GCs. You're going to have to scale up. Well, this one is your products and what you order. Scaling up, you want to start having a standard. So we use the same paint color in every one of our rentals.
This has a lot to do with stress and also, just sanity, right? If you're doing 8 projects and you're trying to put in a different floor in every project and different light fixtures, you're going to lose your mind and your accounting is going to be crazy. So doesn't it make sense to say, hey, here's 5 different light fixtures that I like to use over and over and over again? Guess what? We have 1 paint, maybe 2, but that's it. So when we go in, we paint all the same. Why is that important? Well, A, it's easier, but B, when the tenant moves out, I don't have to go figure out what paint I use. It's always the same paint.
Yeah, it's huge. So again, if we use the same floor, if a tenant scratched up and managed to destroy some of that
And I
floor,
got a bunch of it in our storage unit already, guess what? We just swap out that one piece.
super easy.
Super easy.
So again, that's the scaling up thing. Keep things the same. Try to use the same appliance supplier too, because then it's like, oh, did I get a new fridge? Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, and
Hey,
after you bought 40 refrigerators from somebody, they're gonna probably start giving you a discount. There's advantages here in everything that we're doing. I love it. So let's recap, guys. Start on the outside, do a walk around, look at the roof, look at the windows, look at the landscaping, look at the gutters, the fascia, the soffit. It's not that hard, okay? Just walk around. Does it need to be repaired? Does it need to be replaced? Does it need to be painted? Does it need to be removed? That's what you're looking for.
And
Simple.
Oftentimes, I'd say removal is your cheapest option.
It is.
If there's an old shed, why are you going to replace that? Just rip
Just
it
take
down.
it down. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get
Don't-
it out of there. That's your exterior. When you walk inside, walls, floors, light fixtures. 75% of a house is walls, floors, light fixtures. Your biggest rooms are typically your bedrooms and your living and family room. Pardon me, I got the hiccups here. But don't overthink it. You don't have to replace, the baseboards or, all these little minor things. Just stick to the major areas: flooring, walls, light fixtures. When you get into the kitchen, you don't have to necessarily replace the cabinets. You can paint them. You can change the hardware. We typically like to put in new countertops because it makes it look fresh and clean. Next would be getting decent appliances. Okay, again, that's going to help in 2 ways. It's going to help with your appraisal. It's going to help with your rent. Okay. Next, we do the light fixtures in the kitchen. And that's basically it. Maybe add a dishwasher, maybe add a microwave, remove a garbage disposal. Okay, garbage disposal is not going to get you any more in rent, but what it will do is it's going to increase your maintenance. So we take those out. Moving along to the bathroom, we're typically already going to be doing flooring. We try to leave the tile and we try to leave the tub. We just glaze it white, and I don't care if you have the pinkest, most bright green tile there is. The glaze and the people that we hire to do the glazing, which I'm sure you can find in your local neighborhood, they cover it up with a beautiful white glossy finish that makes it look brand new. If you didn't know that we glazed it, 9 times out of 10 you're going to say, damn, this bathroom is brand new, because we paint over it. It looks great. We do typically replace the toilet. We do typically replace the vanity. Those costs are relatively cheap, and you're typically going to spend about the same amount on labor to install the toilet and the vanity as you are buying those items. And that's really it. Last but not least, basement. Don't build it out. Don't spend a bunch of money down there. Clean it out. Make it look welcoming for somebody to build, a little bonus sleeping area down there, or a little living room down there, or even just storage. How do you do that? You clean out all the old and the ugly. Get rid of the cobwebs. Paint it. Hire a painter to go over there that has a spray painting gun, and they will spray the ceiling, they will spray the walls, they will roll the floor, or even spray the floor. And this will make that basement look welcoming and inviting, so people, will want to spend time down there. And that's it.
I've got one pro tip to end on, Dave.
Keep it simple.
Great summary.
And choose durable.
I've got one really good pro tip.
Let's hear it.
We'll buy 2-bedroom, 1-baths. They don't stay 2-bedroom, 1-baths all the time. It's very inexpensive to throw up one wall
And we do this sometimes too.
and
That's right.
one door and create a third bedroom.
But we're not putting drywall around the entire basement and doing the ceiling.
No, I'm not talking about the basement. I'm talking on the main
Or
level.
anywhere. Right.
Yeah.
So
So-
one wall, one door.
If you've got a good sized house, 1,000 square foot, and it's 2-bedroom, 1-bath, oftentimes the dining room.
Family room, dining room combos.
Right. Exactly. So oftentimes there's a separate dining room and there's a family room, living room kind of combo. It's very easy to turn that old dining room into a third bedroom.
Right.
So we do this pretty frequently. this is huge. You've added another bedroom, which adds value. Not square footage to the house, but it adds value.
It adds value, though.
And it increases your rent. You're then renting a 3-bedroom property as opposed to a 2.
Right.
So that's
which you're going to typically get 25% more rent.
Yeah. And again, this is something that's probably a couple $100 worth of materials.
Yeah, with the labor, you're going to spend $1,000, $1,500 to add a wall, add a door. And when we do this, we're not putting electrical in there.
There's already electric in there.
Right, there's already electrical in that room. You don't need an outlet on that wall. And the cool thing about doing the conversion with a dining room is typically a dining room, not always, sometimes, I should say sometimes, there's a pantry there. Well, guess what a pantry can convert really well to? A closet.
Yeah, super, super nice.
So in order to have a bedroom legal, you have to have 3 things. You have to have it be a minimum square footage, which is pretty easy. I mean, if you walk in and it looks small, it may not work. You have to have a closet for somebody to store their clothing and items. And 3, it has to have a window that you can climb out of in case of a fire. Those are the 3 main things that are needed with the bedroom, but that's it. So typically a dining room has a closet already in it. It's a pantry. Typically it already has a window, which is perfectly sized already because, you know, most windows are. And by just adding a wall and a door, boom, another bedroom.
Yeah,
Pro
so
tip.
that's
Love
a
that.
huge one. And again, if it's a small house, you kind of want to avoid it.
Roll.
But yeah, thanks guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, check out freewholesalecourse.com. That's our favorite thing to direct new people to.
That's right. That's where you learn how to find the deals, which is what all of the things we talk about comes from. Without having a deal, we can't do any of this stuff. None of it. Love it. Check us out, guys. freewholesalecourse.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the rental rehab strategy and pro tips. Signing off.
Welcome back to Season 2 of the Discount Property Investor Podcast. Our mission is to share with you what we have learned from our experience and the experience of others to help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate the Discount Property Investor way. Make sure you never miss an episode and download the Discount Property Investor app in Google Play or iTunes today. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. Thanks for tuning in.